Alright, so here we are in the AMX M4 51 on Mountain Pass. And I'm going to try kicking off a new series of videos that I think is unique. I don't know that, I know I have not seen anybody else out there, and I don't know, maybe somebody will correct me and say, no, this streamer, this YouTuber is doing exactly this. I want to spend more time focusing on a specific tank and talking about the way I play it that I find to be successful. So not to just do a single video, spend 10-20 minutes talking about a particular tank, what are its stats, how do you play it, how does it compare to other tanks in its tier or in its class. Instead, I want to spend time over multiple battles in multiple situations, reviewing and showing the types of gameplay that can be achieved with a particular tank. Now, it might be a tank that's good and is really what you could argue to be the elite of its class and tier combination. And I think in this particular video we're watching right now, that's the case. But then there's also tanks like the Churchill 7 that are somewhat universally hated. Well, okay, how does something like that work out? Now, disclaimer, I actually don't have one of those and I'm trying to avoid it, but let's say I get stuck with it. Well, maybe if I figure out a way to play it, I'll put this in here. So I'm going to try this out. I'm going to see how I like doing it. I'm going to see how the view counts show that other people enjoy watching it. It seems like anymore when I look at what videos get watched, if I put Lorraine 40T, that pretty much guarantees that it's going to get watched a bunch, or at least a bunch by my channel standards. So definitely interested in feedback anybody would have that happens to be watching this. But that's my idea. This particular video we're watching here is what I would consider to be an idealized situation for this particular tank. It has strong frontal armor, it has a good gun at being able to hit weak points, although I did just miss that E3 there. But the other thing about this engagement is it's completely ideal from the playstyle of the enemy as well. They're coming at me effectively one at a time, and you will continue to watch. They will keep dying one at a time. I always call this a Chuck Norris battle. I'm playing the role of Chuck Norris, and the bad guys are coming at me one at a time, and each one of them has their own type of jiu-jitsu, kung fu that they're doing, but because they're coming at me one at a time, and I'm Chuck Norris, they're just all going to die. And you will see that continue on through here. If they had all come at me at once, I would have been dead. The other thing about the terrain layout here is it allows me to focus my armor in one direction. And you saw just a moment ago, I looked over to the left because I briefly panicked and thought there was actually a tank there, but it was actually, I was seeing the icon through the mountain. And any sort of side or rear attack on this tank really does it a lot of wrong. Now, I did manage to bounce the T-28 prototype shell there off the back of my turret, which is impressive. That doesn't usually happen with this thing. So this battle would be a good example in this new series where we'd be able to talk about, in its absolute ideal situation, how does a tank play, what can you do. I suppose one non-ideal thing here, it is not top tier. But honestly, with this tank, I don't really care. It can penetrate what I need it to penetrate. It can block generally what I need it to block. It is slightly stronger at tier 9, but I do not mind tier 10 battles at all with it. So as I move on with the series, and I'm now advancing with the tank as well, good segue, I'll talk about different situations where tanks maybe aren't ideal. American heavies, when you're playing them out in an open field with gently rolling hills, they're fantastic because you can play them hull down, especially if there's no artillery. But what do you do when you get into a city engagement? Similarly, I have an IS-3 out in those same gently rolling hills, and what do I do about my gun depression issues? So I'm going to try and spend more time on those, and I will shamelessly do my best to tie in a little bit with some of the work that Four Tankers has done. because he's gone through and he's laid out a general framework and fabric for here is what your general strategy is for a tank, and it's in his role-playing series. And that provides the perfect framework for something like this, where I'm going to dive in applying the concepts, maybe not verbatim, but in principle, applying his concepts to the individual tanks that I'm playing. I think I can articulate a rather cohesive story. Now, the downside with this is it's going to be tedious. It will be a lot of time on each individual tank. This is not going to be something where I'm going to have information on 50 different tanks. This is going to be over the course of a year, we might see a dozen different ones. So what I'm going to need some help on is figuring out which ones to focus on. So, thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed the content, please subscribe to the channel and also give me your feedback on which tanks you want to see. And don't forget to hit that alerts button so you're aware of when new videos come out. Thanks.